What's up, everyone? It's Matt Mrozek from Matt's Models Customs. It's going to be my new intro, I think. It's Tuesday the 14th, and I figured since I mentioned I started doing like a weekly update video, I would start that tonight. So, a little update, and I also want to tackle a topic. So, I'm going to try to think of something I can tackle every week or every few weeks, kind of stuff that's just happening either in modeling or statues or whatever's kind of going on with what I do and what maybe affects some of you. So for the update, if you follow me on YouTube and Facebook, you see I've been cranking on the Graven Beast prototype right here and the Alpha 3 Superman prototype. Got a lot done on those this weekend. Basically, Superman's suit is done. All the blue base coating and the nails and everything, base coats are done on the Beast. Just need to go in and kind of do the fur and like the eyes and the teeth. Basically hand paintings left on the Beast part. I did glue his legs on. I've got some gap filling to do because after, while the epoxy was still curing, I put them on the base and there were some gaps that appeared, so I just left it alone, and I'm going to do some gap filling. I've got to do some spot repairs, and I'll show you that in my next work in progress. Nothing big, just the way it's sculpted and everything, and it fits. It's a little trickier than anticipated, so we're moving smoothly on those two guys. I think it's in frame over my right shoulder. You'll see a couple Sosa sculpts back there. Those are for Chris Crespo that I started way back, like in. I kind of had to jumble people around as projects were becoming available, or custom pieces or fan art, was being delayed. Producers do their best to give you an ETA on stuff, but it's usually delayed. I have a piece that's been delayed for like a year, which is no big deal because I trust the guy. No big problem there. But so I'm learning, I have to kind of shift people around and ask people, hey, do you mind if I do this before that, and that kind of thing. Hellboys is a good example. I had a few of those that were later in the year, and I just basically combined them with other builds just to kind of knock those out a little bit. Sorry, I got a rattle on my table here. So project-wise, where I am, prototypes, those will be next. Start back up on the Sosa Wolverine and the Sosa Cyclops repaint. That's part of a trio I'm doing for Chris. So he's been patient with that, and so it's kind of update on projects. But the subject I want to kind of tackle tonight is hiring a painter. And I'm just going to go at this. This isn't a rant or anything. This is just kind of my experience in the past 18 months or so since I've become a statue painter out of the blue with no intent to do so. But I think it's a good subject to tackle because the more I post, the more requests I get to do work. And in particular, prototype work. So I'm going to go, first thing I'm going to tackle is kind of like, as a collector, how should you go about finding a painter and hiring a painter? Well, I think the first thing you have to take in consideration is that artist's work. Do you like that person's work? There are several very active painters. I can think of half a dozen off the top of my head. There's John Allred. He's been around for a very long time. Kenny Alessandro has been around for a very long time. Soul, who's really made a name for himself with his skin tones, which are incredibly realistic. I've become pretty busy, obviously, in the past 18 months. My friend Jason Fielder, he's done a lot of Hulks. He's kind of known for his Hulk work, so he gets a lot of those. Who else can I think? John Fici, Vincefield Customs. Who else? Those are kind of like the six that I can think of. That's including me, of course, but those are like the guys I follow and watch them, how they work, and I follow each one for a different reason. I follow Soul because of his skin tones; they're amazing, and I'm trying to kind of get those techniques, learn those techniques. John Allred I follow because he was like the first guy I was ever introduced as a statue painter, actually back in 2015 at Wonderfest before I even painted my very first figure. I met John Allred at Wonderfest very briefly, introduced by my friend Floyd Bazin, and we talked a little bit about kind of like the business because he was painting full time. I was doing commissions, but those were all Gundam commissions and stuff like that. And then I've known of John Feachy or Vincefield Customs ever since then, ever since that 2015 Wonderfest when my friend Floyd again recommended me looking him up on YouTube, so I follow him. He does a lot of custom work, custom sculpting, resculpting of like sideshow pieces and stuff like that, so he's a good guy to watch for that. Kenny Alessandro has a very distinct style. It's very contrasty, very punchy, very vibrant colors, which is really cool. I like that. And then Jason Fielder, I just recently started following I would say about 6 to 8 months ago, when we started talking about his client wanted to buy a kit from me, and he had a Robin kit. Anyway, just back and forth, like trading and selling kits. And then we finally met at Wonderfest, and then we kind of look at each other's work. So find yourself an artist that you like, and because that's the most important thing, is that you're going to hire a painter or a builder or a sculptor for their work. That's the most important thing. Find someone that you like their work and their style. So that's the first choice you have to make. Like, okay, I have this piece. Who do I want to paint it? Let's say you choose John Allred. Awesome. Then you have to find out if John Allred's available and when he's available. He stays busy, pretty solid. You know, he books. I think he books 6 months at a time. It could be a year. I could be wrong. So first find the person you want to work with as far as the kind of work you want. Next, find their availability, and then you have to consider price. And that's prices. I'm not going to go too much into price because everyone's different. Everyone has their own pricing. I get asked all the time, what does it cost to paint something? And I'm very open. It depends on the piece. For a full statue, basically my minimum fee is $500, and it goes up. You know, I think the most I'm charging right now for a piece would be the Beast, the Deuce Beast. I think what I quote on that. I think I quoted $1,300 on him, and I think now the Nair and Hellboy, because I've done so many and I keep getting requests for him, I'm now quoting $1,200 for him, which is very high for that piece. Just in general, that's probably double what most people would charge for that piece. But I've done 5. I've got 2 more to go, and I keep getting requests for them. So supply and demand. So that's what I charge for the Hellboy. And I've got 2 people that want me to do it at that price. So, you know, more power to you. You know, it's like, so basically find the artist you want to work with, find their availability. You'll find that if you have a piece coming in and you want it painted right away, probably won't happen. You'll have to make a reservation, put a deposit down. I have a contract. I know John Allred has a contract. I'm not sure what his says. I know what mine says. I took a contract that I used to have for wedding photography or photography in general and just kind of adapted it to statue painting. And you know, make sure the contract reads what you're getting, what you're paying, what the terms are as far as like payment plans, if there's a payment plan in place, what the expected time of completion is. I have one rule, and that's no deadlines. Prototypes are an exception, because I have, like I always say, I have a wife, I have a family, kids, and a full-time job. So as long as you're okay with that, feel free to hire me. So, and Chris Crespo's kind of learning that right now because stuff's been put on the side for a while. And the mech I just finished before June, I'd been working on that thing for over a year and a half, just on and off, because things pop up. And every once in a while, I may want to do something for myself. More so not. It's interesting because of the Gundam stuff, I wanted to do more pieces for myself, and for the statues, since I don't have room to display them, I don't feel the need to paint something for myself. If I paint something for myself, it's because I have the intention of painting it and then selling it relatively quick. So, but yeah, so artist, availability, and price, and the contract. Make sure you understand the contract, because I just had an instance where a client had sent me a kit. I sent him a contract back in January, and I asked him, hey, is there any questions over it? He's slated for late 2019, like end of the year 2019. He said, yeah, it looks good, no problem. I never did get a deposit on the contracts. That's kind of my fault. He said, hey, you've got like a $1,300 kit. I'm not going to go anywhere, or however much the kit is worth. I said, yeah, you're right. You know, whatever. So he sends me a message the other day. Hey, just wondering where I am in the queue on your schedule. So I had to go back and look at my contracts because I couldn't remember. And it's like, well, you're slated for spot 13, 2019. So ended 2019. He's like, whoa, that's not going to work. he's like, if I knew I was going to have to wait that long, I wouldn't have sent you the kit. And I'm like, I sent you the contract back in January, asked you if you read it and if you understood it. And his reply, I have a screen capture of the conversation, and he said he did. So and I told him, like, look, and since I don't have a deposit on it, he's not out any money except for if he wants to ship it somewhere else to another paint. Like, if you want me to ship it to someone else, let me know. I'm happy to do so. But right now, you're slated for the end of 2019. And technically right now I'm about 2 months behind in projects, just because life and prototypes and work and stuff. And like yesterday was my kid's first day of school, so didn't work last night. I just uploaded videos I recorded over the weekend for these two guys. Tonight's another night where we have just stuff going on, so I'm not going to probably do a whole lot of work tonight. So yeah, so I mean, when I'm looking for to hire someone to do anything, first of all, I want to make sure their work is up to snuff and what I'm looking for. And then I look to see if they can get it done, you know, in a time frame that I'm comfortable with. If you're hiring a painter and he's like me and he has like a no deadline rule, then you have to be okay with that. I think John Allred basically books by weeks. And I could be wrong on this. I don't want to speak for him, but I think you like book a slot and it's like either you have them this week or these 2 weeks, depending on the scope of the project, how big it is. So then, once that's done, the next one comes in. And I'm sure he runs into the same thing I do where, you have a collector who has, I have this piece coming in. It's supposed to ship in November. Well, it doesn't ship till January. So then he's got to figure out and move people around. And so I've had to do that a few times because pieces have gotten delayed and I haven't gotten them when expected. So that's kind of why Chris Crespo got bumped up a little bit, because the spot that he was in was for a Mobius kit, which is not shipped yet. It's going to be shipping soon. So I had to flip those guys around. I have 2 Deuce Thors on my schedule, and I'm going to try to see if I can combine those 2 at the same time. That way I can just get those 2 done. The paint jobs will be similar, a little different, but it's a little easier if I'm doing 2 of the same kit at the same time, and I can just get those done. I can get a little ahead of schedule. So speaking that way, technically I'm actually only 1 month behind, because one of the Hellboys I did back in the beginning of the year was slated for like towards the end of this year. So I was able to move him to the front and so on. So make sure you read the contract. Make sure you understand what you're paying for. Make sure you understand the terms of the contract. People ask me if to sign mine. Basically, when I ask people to sign the contract, because instead of having to like digitally sign it or print it out, sign it, scan it, send it back to me, I just asked them to say in our chat, I agree to these terms, and then I take a screen capture of that and I consider that a signature. I think that as long as we both are under that understanding, that's okay. But as far as like, and I was making some comments, or someone made a comment on one of the threads on a thing I was commenting on, and the YouTube videos that I've been doing. And I've said this before, the YouTube videos are for a few things. The main reason I do the YouTube videos is basically to show someone who has hired me to do a project so they can see what they're paying for. Rather than just seeing the end product, they see all the work and time and effort that's gone into that project. So, on average, a statue takes me, a Hellboy takes me 70 to 80 hours easily. And I've done 5 of them, and I'm not getting any faster. It's just the way it is. That's how long it takes me to do it. So on average, let's say a statue takes me between 60 and 100 hours on average. I'm going to estimate probably Beast will probably be in that 80-hour range. Superman will probably be in that 80-hour range. They're relatively simple. Now, Superman has 4 heads, which will take me a while because I'm slow on skin tones. So the YouTube videos are to show clients, look, you may be paying me between $500 and $1,000 for a paint job, but I've got 80 to 100 hours into it. So right there, let's say it's $10 an hour. And then you subtract my supplies from that, then that's even less. So supplies I probably have, depending on how much paint and primer I'm using, anywhere from $50 to $100 worth of supplies pretty easily. So take that away from the fee. Another thing that I don't think collectors consider is the time to pack these things. If you can't use the original shipper, when I was shipping stuff back back after Wonderfest, I spent 2 full days, like 20 hours packing like 7 statues because they didn't come with shippers, so I had to bubble wrap them, custom foam wrap them, and it just took a long time. It's very time consuming. So they don't see that part of it either. So, when I was doing Gundam commissions, I was basically charging, I think my last rate was $12 an hour plus supplies plus cost of shipping the piece back to you. So, and those were getting up in the $2,000 range because those were 150 to 200 hours to do one. Like the last Gundam commission I did was easily 180 hours. And then I tack on supplies, which I usually charge like $125 for supplies. So I know it seems like a lot, and this hobby is very expensive. Pre-paints are very popular because you're getting a painted piece. You don't have to go through the hassle of, having a kit, getting that kit either delivered to yourself or to your painter, hiring the painter to paint it, and then having it shipped back to you. And I totally understand that. And shipping plays a huge factor in all this because especially if you're shipping international, because on average it's $200 each one way. So if let's say you're a collector and let's say you hired me to do a piece, but I can't accept your piece till next year. I'm physically out of room right now to accept any more boxes. I don't have any more room for boxes until I start weeding some of these out. So you have to have that piece shipped to yourself and then shipped to me, and then I have to ship it back to you. So I get that. So you're paying shipping 3 times. So shipping plays a huge factor in it. And your fan art piece that was originally maybe $600 or $700 is now turned into, well, you got, let's say the piece is $600. $600 for the piece. If you can ship it to the painter, that's going to run you, I'm just going to say $175. That's on average. So now you're up to $775. Then the paint job, I'm just going to round it up to $700. So now you're at, let's say, roughly $1,500. And then you have to ship it back to yourself. So now you're back up to around the $1,700 range. So I get it. It gets expensive. And that's the nature of the beast when it comes to hiring an artist to do anything, whether it's statues or Gundams or anything like that. You're not only paying for the artist's time, the artist's supplies, but you're paying for that artist's talent. And talent is something is hard to put a dollar amount on. I think as far as statues goes, I'm getting there. So far, the work I've been producing has been getting better with each piece. Each piece is getting a little bit better. I'll never learn everything. Anyone who says they know everything about anything is lying. There's no way to know everything. I've been a photographer for 23 years. And that would, in the terms of being an expert at things, there's a saying that if you've been doing something for 10 years, you become an expert. I don't even consider myself an expert photographer. Things change so rapidly, technology-wise and stuff like that. It's hard to keep up with what's going on and what's changing so much. So same thing goes with painting figures or building models. Someone who's brand new to the hobby could teach someone who's been doing it for 50 years a new trick that they never thought of. A lot of the guys kind of get stuck in their ways and techniques, and they don't want to break away from those. A lot of it's with products. There's new products constantly coming out to help make our jobs easier. Maybe not easier, but more efficient. And I have a famous saying that when I'm building and painting models, that building and painting models necessarily isn't hard. It's time consuming. So yes, there are a lot of techniques you have to learn and learn how to apply those. You have to learn how to take the tools you have and use those correctly to their best effectiveness. Same thing with paint. There are so many different types of paint out there. It's ridiculous. I never used acrylic paint till I painted my first figure kit back in 2016. It was 15, I think 16. When I was introduced to the GarageKits.us paints. Now I love those paints, and I use those for figures like 90% of the time. The Vallejo Metallics, I use those 90% of the time. Now these guys, I was using a lot of the Mr. Color paints just because I had those colors already here, and I knew in my head exactly how to get the colors I wanted in the end results using what I had. Could I do the same thing in acrylics? Probably. with a little practice. But I knew how to get this blue using Mr. Colors. I knew how to get that blue and that red and that yellow because I've done it before. So I knew how to get the end results already. And I didn't want to take the time to learn with a new product on prototypes. So, going back to kind of costs. So not only do you have, do you see what the artist is putting in time wise, but as far as investment goes, as far as tools and things like that, if I had to put a dollar amount on tools and supplies that I have invested, I would have to say $5,000 easily, as far as like what I have is invested in tools, paints, supplies. Yeah, it's up there. And then I'm always looking for newer things or things that help me improve or be more efficient on what I do. A bottle of paint is $2 or $3, sometimes $5, $6 a bottle of paint. I use, on this guy, I've used $5 5 bottles of paint so far, so I'm up to like $30 on paint just for the beast. Same thing with Superman. I've used probably 7 bottles of paint on him so far, so that's $35, $40 in paint so far. That's not even the base. So you have to consider what that person has invested in time and space, the space in my house. I mean, I've commandeered a room, which is my workspace. A walk-in closet is my spray room. So that's part of the investment into doing this. Did I go out? Again, I didn't go out seeking to be a professional, I'm going to put down quotations because, again, I don't consider myself a professional painter. I consider it a hobby that I really enjoy, and I have the luxury of people wanting to pay me to do it. So I didn't, I built this space with the intention of just continuing my hobby, which has turned into now to basically a full-time second business. So that's part of the investment, I don't have to rent space, but it is taking space away from my household that could have been used for something else. That's my choice. There could be an argument there. You chose to do that, and that's true. I did choose to do that. It's nice being inside where it's air conditioned instead of in the garage where it can get 110 degrees during the summer. So that's very nice. So yeah, so hiring a painter can be tricky because there's a lot of guys out there that paint. There's a lot of guys and gals. There's I can't remember her name, but I think she's from Greece. But she's one of my favorite painters. She's amazing, beautiful work. And I can't remember her name. I apologize. But yeah, so hiring a painter, it's if you've never done it before. I have a few guys that have never had a custom piece done before. Fan art piece done before. It's a new experience, so that's the main reason for the YouTube videos is to kind of educate. Well, this is the process that I go through to get your piece done. I get this. Oh, the kit I'm going to send you is the best kit ever. There's nothing. It just basically is ready for paint, and I've yet once to have that experience where I open the piece like, oh yeah, it's ready for paint. Nene shnene. Onage does an amazing job. Even the pieces produced by Onage have some work that need to be done, whether it's pinning or adding better magnets. I will say, as far as any kit that I have that's been printed by Onage, molded and casted by Onage, are by far the cleanest kits I've received. As far as like mold lines or seams or flash like that, they do an amazing job on that. So far, everything I've seen from them like that has been the best. But there's still prep work. You still got to pin it. You still got to add magnets. You still got to prime it. You may have to prime it and sand it a little bit. So there's always prep. There's never just out of the box paint. Never. I don't care if someone's telling you that they have a piece like that. I'd almost dare say they're lying. Lie's a strong word, but I have yet to experience that. And I've built my fair share of resin kits. Not as many figure kits, but as far as like other resin kits, I've built quite a few. So, but like I said, I've been doing this now it's interesting. I was going through my Facebook post, and it was a year ago this month that I did my first Hellboy. for the infamous Leo DeSanctis, who is no longer on Facebook. So that piece was one of the first pieces that kind of got me really noticed, besides the Alpha 3 Captain America that I did previously. So I'm kind of going all over the place here as far as like the subject goes, but there's a lot to cover. And my thought process is never a straight line. It's always like this. You know, it's part of my dyslexic hyperactivity syndrome, ADD that I deal with every day. But yeah, so hiring a painter. Again, find someone you like their work. Make sure they're going to give you a piece in the end that you're happy with. Check their availability and make sure that you're comfortable with the time frame they can get that piece done in, and the price. To me, price is the least important out of all of those, and I think it's kind of flipped for collectors. They shop by price first, then they shop for availability, and then they're like, oh, does this guy do the work that I want to do? I think they have it all reversed, and I think it should be flip-flopped. I'm not just saying that because I want to charge more for a piece. The most important thing is that you get a piece in the end that you're happy with, because I guarantee you, if you had, let's say you wanted to have a piece painted and you had a budget like $500, that was your budget to have a piece painted, or if you have a budget, and you shopped around based on your budget alone, $500. Well, okay, we got painter A who's like $800, and you have painter, B who is $750, and painter C is the $500 guy, but you really like painter A and B's work. You love their work, but they're just a little out of your price range. So you go with painter C because his work's okay, but he fits your budget. So you hire painter C, he does it, you get it, it's like, oh man, this looks so good. So, for a little bit of extra money, you could have hired someone you really liked their work. So again, that's not trying to increase the pricing as far as what I charge. And I don't haggle on pricing a whole lot. Someone asked me to do a piece, and he's like, oh, it's a little more than I anticipated. And it wasn't much, but he gave me a really good deal on a kit that I had purchased from him. So, you know what, you gave me a really good deal on the kit that I bought from you. I'm happy to knock $100 off to get you in the price range that you want. So it's a give and take. If someone does me a favor, I'm more than happy to do someone else a favor. So yeah, so I think you should shop by the artist you want, their availability, and then price. So that's like hiring people to do a piece for your collection. Prototypes I've been doing for straight trade. I paint a prototype, I get a kit shipped to me. I don't pay for anything. That's part of the gig. So right now I have the prototype work. I've mentioned this before that I've been getting requests for has increased quite a bit. So right now everyone that has prototype work for me planned is like kind of grandfathered into that straight trade agreement. I think eventually, because the amount of prototype work requests I'm getting, I'm probably going to up that a little bit, where I get not only a kit shipped to me at no cost, but I'll also charge an additional fee, maybe just to cover some of my supplies and stuff. It won't be a huge fee, but it will be something. Just because, again, it's supply and demand. That's the same thing with the Hellboy. I was charging $800 before. Initially, my initial price for the Hellboy was $600. Before I did the first one I did, I charged $600. And then the second time the second Hellboy I did, I had two guys fighting over who was going to get the next Hellboy, and they were like having a bidding war. So I got to $800. I'm like, all right, that's my new price for Hellboy. So I charged, that's all the contracts I have for $800, and I keep getting requests. So it's like, okay, I'll consider doing more Hellboys, but the price is going to go up 50% to $1,200. So, and like I said, a lot of people are freaking out that that's real expensive. And you're not going to offend me if you tell me I'm too expensive on anything. Like, okay, that's fine. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I'm not going to, complain or anything. I understand. I mean, I get it. It's expensive. It's an expensive hobby. And it's really interesting because you kind of learn who are like the real true collectors. These guys that they buy a piece and they really appreciate it, whether it's a fan art or a sideshow piece or a Prime One piece or whatever it is. They're true collectors at heart. They get a piece, and that piece speaks to them. It reminds them of something in their childhood or something, and that's like their piece to keep forever, unless something extreme happens and they have to sell it to pay for an unexpected expense. I'm a little on the other side where like I've got a ton of kits that I'll never get to, so I'm going to sell probably most of my kits. I went hog crazy the past year and a half, and like I said, I love just painting the piece and getting the reactions. Like seeing people react to even the work in progress photos and videos I do it's so gratifying because it just it's very I had the term and I just lost it. It's gratifying because it lets you know that the time and effort you're putting into the piece is appreciated. Not only they appreciate the time, but they also appreciate the talent that goes into it. And that goes for any painter. Anytime someone posts a work in progress photo or a video, and you know, they get feedback, whether it's negative or positive. The positive is always great, but negative feedback is good too. I mean, tell me what you don't like, because if you don't, you're definitely not going to like the end product. You have to be able to tell whoever it is you hired, hey, look, that's not quite what I was looking for. Let's try something else. So, and a good example is on the Superman. So initially, Mark wanted the cape to have like a luster finish on the backside. So I did. Well, in the pictures, it looks super shiny. It's not as shiny as it is in person, but he's like, oh, wow, that's really shiny. I go, well, that's what you requested, a luster slash, you know, semi-gloss finish. And he goes, well, I think we knock it down. I go, I think we should too. It's too shiny, and you can't see any of the shading I did. So, you know, they may think they want something, but once they see it, decide that they don't want it. So when I do prototypes in particular, before I move to the next step, I always ask for approval. And this is another thing when hiring a painter. What is their policy as far as changes go? I don't have I think I have a policy. I have to look at my contract. But basically my policy, look, once you've approved something and I move on, if you go back and change something, more than likely the price of your project is going to go up. It is much easier to change something right after you've done that step than to go 4 or 5 steps further in the process and then realize, oh, I like, you know, let's say I'm on step 8, and previously you approved step 5, but now you're looking at the whole thing, and step 5, you're not, oh, I don't like that, I need to go change that. Well, that requires a lot more work because it's probably more masking. It may require stripping. It may require a lot of work to change step 5 when you're on step 8. So you do step 5, is this good? Approved, good. Move to step 6. So make sure that what is their policy as far as making changes in the middle of a project. You know, are they going to charge you more? More than likely they will, because it will cost more work than it would to have done, you know, changed it right after that step. So that's kind of like my policy. Basically, look, it may affect the price, and the price may go up, is what I think I say in my contract. So that's another long video of me just rambling on. I ramble a lot. I think I've covered everything I want to. Pricing a little bit, you know, consider what, you know, $1,000 seems like a lot for a paint job, and it can be but when you got 100 hours into a piece, you take 100 hours divided by 1,000 is $10 minus the supplies. The painter's making minimum wage, maybe, if they're lucky. Now that's me. I'm a slow painter. You know, John Allred's much faster than I am, but he's been doing it much longer. I don't know if I'll ever get as fast as he is. I've tried to come up with shorter ways to do things. I've yet to find those. So again, to me, it's not about getting it done in a certain amount of time. I don't rush a project just for the sake of getting it done. I just take my time, and that's just the way I work. I don't want to, you know, I'm not going to get it if if you give me a piece and say, oh, I need it done in 2 weeks, and I'm like, oh, I might be able to do that, and I get it, and it takes me 3 weeks or 4 weeks because I'm taking my time. You may be upset because you're having to wait longer, but you'll be much happier in the end when you get the product that you really want. It's better to get what you want and wait longer for it than to get something really quick and be like, oh, this sucks. This is not what I wanted. So you have to make that decision as a collector or as someone who's going to hire an artist. Again, any artist, painter, sculptor, someone's going to work on your house. You know, do you want it done fast, or do you want it done right? What's the terminology? You can have it done. You can have it done. I forgot the term. I can't think of it. Basically, you know, just let the person take their time if needed to get the piece done the way you want. So I think that's it for my rambling and my update. So if you want to watch and have any comments or suggestions, I appreciate it. Again, it's Tuesday night, the 14th. I may do a little work on the Beast tonight. I don't know. We'll see. We got some stuff going on here at the house. Otherwise, I'll get back to stuff on Wednesday and Thursday of this week, and then we'll get going. But as always, this is Matt Mrozek. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye.